All right, back to Linux.
I don't think we've said one thing about Linux yet.
Well, I was mentioning, my graphics card, so we have done technology.
Fair.
Why don't you save it for when we start?
All right, kick this pig.
You gotta shut up.
I'm going to keep talking every time I see you write down the freaking time.
Okay.
Welcome to episode 223 of the Linux Lugcast. We're an open podcast / lug that meets at 9 p.m. Eastern every first and third Friday of the month using Mumble. We encourage anyone listening to join us and participate on the podcast. Check out linuxlugcast.com for the server details. And I did update the server details to the new Mumble server, Danny's server. So it's got the right one now. If you have any questions, comments, or topics that to discuss and are unable to join us live during the show, you can send us an email at feedback@linuxlugcast.com. You can check out, we have a subreddit, which nobody checks anymore. Why do I just take that one out completely? No one is checking the subreddit, right? Bueller? No. So we're just going to take that right out of there. We're just not going to talk about it anymore. Gone. All right. So you can check out, what the hell did I just do? Thank God there's an undo.
Deleted the show notes.
I deleted something. It was the wrong thing. I have a phone right now, and I take a picture of my balls. I don't remember what that was about, but that's fucking hilarious. There. All right. So forget about the subreddit. We do post most of our stuff to Lemmy. We have most of our conversation on the Matrix channel. We have a YouTube channel, and we have a PeerTube channel. Links for all of those can be found at linuxlugcast.com or in the show notes. I'm your host for this evening, Honky Magoo. With us tonight is Eric.
Good evening.
Joe.
Yep, I'm here.
Jackie.
Present.
We need to get Jackie's name. We just change one of them to Jackie, so I don't. Lugbot.
Yay.
Minnix. Danny,
He's never sounded better.
Okay, I'm here.
Oh, hey.
Hey, what's up?
Lugbot talks and you. Morton C.
Good evening.
And netminer.
And netminer.
Yeah, who's using my name in vain?
We're trying to summon your spirit with our Ouija board.
Well, Eric, I wanted to say the fact that you express yourself extremely loquaciously really warms my heart. See, that's one of the characteristics of someone with Asperger's, is that when somebody asks us a question, we will give an answer, chapter, verse.
I appreciate that.
I didn't know Eric had Asperger's.
I don't.
Oh. What is he?
I think he's saying.
He was saying somebody should ask him to shut up. No. That's very comforting to me.
Oh,
yeah.
you having it. Okay. I thought you were saying that Eric has it.
No, I got it.
And you felt a kinship with him.
Yes. Purely platonic, of course.
Of course.
Well, yeah. I didn't mean to assume anything.
No, I
presume.
I don't know how, but I have been friends with a number of people with Asperger's and other sort of, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I've always been maybe drawn towards people that have
neurodivergency.
They're more intentional I don't know how to explain it. Like I've just like I'll go into a room of 20 people and I will pick out the person who is going to be most towards like that end of the spectrum of humanity, right? Like, because I'd rather sit and have a conversation. I'd rather go slow and enjoy the time, and like I've just always been that way. And I, uh, I don't know. Like it's interesting. I don't know if you look at your life and you think like not the law of attraction, but just the idea that you tend to meet the same people in a lot of different ways they're very similar, and you can kind of start equating like, oh, you remind me a lot of this person, or a lot of my relationships have been that way where it's like I I can't explain it. There's no
Just for your information, just for like political correctness, the community does not recognize Asperger's anymore and falls under ASD spectrum.
Okay,
The autism spectrum, it's more polite that way.
gotcha.
And a lot of them will just tell you like neurodivergent.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Now, since my uniqueness was discovered in my late teens, early 20s, and my Asperger's was officially labeled in my 40s, I'm kind of attached to the label that actually explained what was going on.
Yeah,
Netminer, whatever you want us to call it, we will call it.
George Carlin has a really cool bit on how throughout time language gets softer, and how, you know, in the First World War you were shell shocked, and then it turned into like PTSD, or you know, there were sort of like levels of how it progressed throughout time. It's the same thing, but as we've moved forward in time, I think part of that is just being more precise and specific, but also part of it is just those old labels kind of having a sort of stigma about them. Whereas things can be nuanced. That's why I like the idea of it being a spectrum, because it is. You know, some people are profoundly, you know, a certain way, and some people are very mildly a certain way.
Well, I'm just saying, I was so relieved. Somebody noticed that my body language was not anything that normal, and that was in my late teens, early 20s, whatever. And then when I went into mass rehab because my nerves were shot, they gave me some exhaustive tests and they labeled it Asperger's. And I said, yes, now I have something that fills in a lot of the blanks. And that comfort is, well, especially considering a lot of other stuff that was going on, actually having that. Also, you got to remember, I grew up in the time of stewards and stewardesses and actors and actresses, and when you could actually, you know, what the labels hadn't been PC'd so much.
Yeah.
And you know, the Asperger's in me likes those more precise labels.
What have you guys been working on? Joe has headphones. What about you, Jackie?
JC's been having me help him with his stuff. He's doing audio, video. So he's been recording, and he has to finish his project. He has to give a 3-minute podcast speech on the tools for robotics team.
Is he becoming
Nice.
a TikTok influencer?
No, he's kind of done with that. He barely uses. He I think he likes programming, but he likes his robotics and his coding.
Nice.
And
Way to go.
he's got they've got their only tournament is next month. And right now he's the only boy on a six. The rest of them are the six other 10 members are girls.
Really? That's weird.
That's why he joined.
Yeah.
Nah, actually, he just
To
kind
meet the
remember
ladies.
he's got sisters that are older. He's kind of like, I'm done with this shit. But
What was he
he's just
using to do the audio and video editing?
I do not know.
Nothing yet?
Nothing yet. Just been recording. Has he been recording stuff?
Been
Not yet.
recording and taking pictures and
Well, he tells me
reorganizing.
that he needs to use my microphone, either tomorrow or Sunday. So it's all set up in the other room. But he'll just be able to disconnect it and hook it up to his Chromebook and make a proper recording with it.
He said
What
the
are the-
Chromebook microphone is terrible.
What does the Chromebook use to record audio?
Microphone.
The built-in microphone.
No, I meant application-wise.
Google?
I'm sure it's a Google app, but I mean, like, you know what it is? It's just some default Chrome audio thing.
Well, he hasn't asked for my help before now, so I have no clue.
Okay.
Yeah, all I know is I've been, hey, do this, hold this, Mom, and Mom, can you hear this? I'm like, okay, I have no idea what's going on, but and then drive him to school and pick him up.
Yeah, I think Jitsi could use a seventh tile.
We want to see Jackie. Miss Shorty.
Yes. Well,
Aren't we pretty enough for you, netminer?
Apparently not.
Can you
any,
see how attractive I am?
any of the Miss Shorties would be nice to bring up to class to their place.
I can't argue with him, you know? Although I did stay extra rugged for you today.
By the way, Morton C., I've found a particularly Thai way of getting around your escort problem. Your fiance doesn't like you being escorted by women, and the guys are working.
Yeah.
Well, clearly you need to hook up with. You need to find a lady boy as an escort.
I'm sure she'll love that.
Oh yeah, there you go. Best of both worlds.
I think that
Oriental magic.
that is some solid problem solving right there.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, she did tell me.
Thinking outside the box.
Everybody talks about this trance stuff as if it was brand new. In Thailand, it's been going on for, I don't know,
In
hundreds
a
of
lot
years.
of cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's references to it back in the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
All I
India,
know
don't they have a
is
whole cast? There's just
there
lady
there are
boys.
some very convincing boys out there, I can say that much. Where you
And there are also the American Indians had.
Thumbs up for me.
Joe
I'm
likes them.
I'm secure enough in my masculinity to recognize beauty wherever it lies.
We have a Not Safe for Work podcast. Some of the guys at work, and before I went to Thailand last year, one of them posted a picture. It was an American. It was like a picture from somebody on that 600-pound show.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
And then it had a picture of a lady boy, and then it had a guy that said, "Guess I'm gay."
My 600-pound life. That's a good show.
Well,
That's what it was.
um,
But yeah. Half the boys she went to high school with, in her village, are lady boys. I met
Wow.
one of them last year on New Year's Eve before we went to the fireworks. She is a famous in the village chef. So like she usually runs out of food during the day. Like she can't keep enough supplies on hand to keep making everything she does all day long. She runs out of stuff because everything's so popular.
Do they have winer?
Weiner.
What's Weiner, Lugbach?
Do they have wiener?
I didn't ask.
Yeah, you'll have to check it out, Lugbot. See if you're interested.
actually, on YouTube,
I am.
I support it. I was watching this gamer who originally I didn't know was trans, and I still consider her a very good friend. And she was kind of careful about saying, this is not a romantic thing. And I said, hey, man, getting a good friend of whatever orientation is rare enough. And with the sexual thing out of the picture, a lot of, you can be, it makes things a lot easier for general friendship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
This is related to Linux, but elementary OS.
Careful.
No, this is fine. But I knew Daniel. Well, now it's Danielle.
All right, back to Linux.
All right,
It is,
Eric's
it
going to
is.
start us back to Linux.
It is, but so now it's Danielle Fiore, and it was Daniel. So, and I knew her when she was he, and talked to him about elementary and all that stuff, and then she transitioned, and it was just like I was blown away because I thought, man, that takes some serious guts to be able to like just say, this is who I am.
And
you may not like it. Well, I was very careful not to use that word. Thanks, Lugbot.
Balls.
And I just interviewed her last month, and yeah, she's great.
Been on Mcast a couple of times.
Yeah,
So
She's awesome.
Elementary OS. Is she the main dev?
Yep. Yeah, she's great. And
You use that, don't you,
honestly, as a woman, she is. I don't even remember the male part of her. Like she is a woman now, which is kind of amazing. So
I on YouTube, I get a lot of filk music. There's a whole series that originally was put out on cassette tape, and
What kind of music?
filk.
Filk? What is that?
Fantasy folk.
Yeah, science
That's
fiction
what,
folk.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
What is his name? That's on Minnix who does that.
you mean Moss?
Morris, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the stars there was evidently transitioned way back in the it's cassette tape time, so it's dark ages nowadays. Although I can recommend Banned from Argo as great Trek fiction.
That's part of the reason I really enjoy being on this show, besides just hanging out with you guys and I said before we started recording last week, I listened back to the first like close to an hour, and I probably spoke for 30 minutes of that 60. And I just was like shaking my head going, God, these guys need to tell me to just be quiet already. But yeah, just having the opportunity to come in, share, and hang out is great. But also just finding so many cool things. Like there's so much stuff now. Like everything that is now on a streaming service that is like a legacy piece of media, plus all the new stuff that's being created. It's just literally impossible to keep up with. And without having someone say to me, wow, you should check this out, this is interesting, I have a hard time just looking through and browsing and getting interested in anything, because there's just so much. You know, you go through Netflix or any of these services and it's just like, I don't even know what to pick. Like, what is it? Paralysis, because it's too much choice.
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of legacy media, we have an update about our good friend and longtime listener, Cherry Hill Tony.
Did you say C about legacy media?
He's a legacy
Poor Cherry Hill
listener.
Tony.
Hey, he likes it.
Just because he's old.
I never said he's old.
Things.
I said he's legacy. It's different.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a very grand way of
You gotta
saying
be
it.
careful with that legacy stuff. Yeah, I'll be retired next year, you know, at 66 and something.
So anyway, so Lovecraft finally got a hold of him, and he's doing fine. He's in he's in a place. I don't really want to put his private stuff on blast, but he's doing good, and he hopes to be home by the end of the year, and so that will be nice if he joins us again. Although he did say something very strange, which maybe because of the medication that he's on, or
Had to have been.
dementia or something maybe creeping in. He said he really misses joining in on the Mintcast when Lovecraft told him that we were all worried about him and asking about him. Every show since we haven't heard from him, the Linux Lugcast have worried about him, wondered where he was, haven't been able to hear back from him. We've always mentioned him, how much we care about him, and hope that he gets in contact with him. Meanwhile, another podcast that doesn't even care if he's alive or dead,
You mean
he says he
the
misses...
other Tony that was on for one episode when we all joined on Minnix?
Have you guys at all asked about how he's doing, asked each other if you can contact him in some way, anything like that, since we haven't heard from him? No, you don't care about him.
Considering
That's exactly my point. So it has to be some kind of delusion that or maybe he was half awake when he said this. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
we're
that
just
it
better
was-
than you guys.
that it was the maybe pain medicine or something like that made him say this ludicrous thing, and I'm not going to hold it against him because I think he just misspoke.
You shouldn't, because it's the Midcast, and
He just misspoke.
They're just awesome.
Yeah. There's a cast in both of them. I think that's all it was. He just picked the wrong one.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was odd, but other than that,
Well,
he's doing good.
Slip of memory. As a dyslexic, I do that all the time.
Okay. So yeah. So it's nothing to get to worry about or anything like that. Then so it's just a misspeak. Anyway, I'm glad we finally heard from him. And,
we love everybody that's ever been on
yes,
the
yes.
Minnix. We do, and we talk about them and how many
Yeah, I see
episodes
you
they
reading
were
from your
on.
teleprompter right now. You could give a damn about anybody that isn't directly on the microphone. So
Well,
So
he
anyway,
was.
we hope to hear from him soon when he gets back home, and we're all giving him good thoughts or prayers or whatever you want to say. And I'm glad somebody that Lovecraft actually was able to get a hold of him, so that's good. I just wanted to put that out there.
Joe, did you get the email I sent you?
No? You sent me an email?
Yeah, with the.
Oh, you're the worst.
No, the email that you sent with the link, yes, I put that into the Mintcast Nextcloud, and I harassed Bill until he added it to the show audio.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, has anybody actually been working on anything? Danny, have you been working on any project? Have you? What have you been working on?
So I'm trying to get all of my proxmox virtual machines set up as Linux containers because I'm starting to run out of RAM, and a container will use about half the RAM as a virtual machine. So I've been doing that, but a very difficult problem I've run into is anything that needs a display like X11, like needs access to a GPU, is hard to get through a Linux container to use the GPU. So I was trying to move WebTop. You remember that Docker container where you have a desktop, and I got it running, but when I try to log in, I get all these errors in the logs about X11, blah blah blah, this and that. And so I looked it up, and a lot of people say the same thing, that trying to access the GPU through a Linux container is not the easiest thing to do. So anyway, I'm still working on that. But I've moved some things to the Linux containers out from the VMs, and actually saves quite a bit of RAM. I'd like to try that running a Linux container on the Lugcast official VPS. I think that would be fun. Also, we need to access the VPS somehow. Mortensen, did you decide on a way that would be best, since you said Google doesn't offer that sign-on service anymore?
I figured just local accounts and everybody get a 256 or 512-bit RSA key,
Yeah.
public key.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to suggest. Just everybody use their public key to get on. Connect. If you didn't have any other ideas.
Yeah. No, that was about it on my ideas.
Okay. Why don't we do that then?
Without the Google setup, yeah.
So you have the address you gave us.
Yeah, and the SSH should just be SSH user ID at the host. So I guess just give me your keys, and if anybody needs help creating keys, we should document all this. So as we do stuff, document it, how we're locking it down, no direct root login.
Now there's a. I thought I made a. Did I make a room for us to talk about it on? Yeah, Lugcast Lab.
Okay, yeah. That'll be good.
Are you going to set up sudo permissions or?
Yeah. I wasn't gonna go full blown security, giving you specific commands that you could run with sudo. I was just gonna allow everybody to SU to root. Just
That's fine.
I'm sure at some point we'll limit that down to working on the containers and not on the whole system.
That sounds good.
Just because that should be Should do it that way.
You don't want me accidentally nuking everybody else's projects?
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that on purpose.
I thought it was the prod server at work. Sorry.
I didn't mean to RMRF.
Yeah, no Core Wars.
Well,
All right.
I've had a small project, but I don't know if you want to hear about it since it's not really Linux based.
Is it tech based?
Yes.
Okay, let's hear about it.
Well, I picked up a 7-inch screen on Black Friday from Amazon. It was really good price, so I picked it up. I 3D printed a frame for it, and I took it to work, and I took an adapter with me, USB-C hub, so that I can hook it up to HDMI and power, and it will implement DeX on my phone. So I've been using DeX on a little 7-inch screen just to test out DeX more without, taking over one of the giant monitors next to me.
Now, what? Now, is it just so? When you say a screen, is it like a portable monitor, or what
Yeah,
is it?
portable monitor.
Okay.
I'll see
So
if I can. Yeah, I will look it up. I'll post that in the show notes.
So
Where'd you get
I read
it? Oh yeah,
Amazon.
Was it a Black Friday deal?
Yeah.
So I read about this when I got my tablet and was trying to understand how DeX worked, and it sounded like whenever you're using a device and you plug in any kind of external monitor, then you have. Did it? No? Okay, I'm getting the finger
Well,
up.
yes. In most cases, it will, but there
Okay.
is one circumstance that I've come across where it will not, and that is using DisplayLink. I cannot get DeX to work over DisplayLink, and I have a USB 3.0 monitor that I wanted to use because it's like a 15.6, and I could not get DeX to implement on that.
So what's the connection you're using?
Now it's HDMI.
But so
On
your
the other
phone-
one, it's USB 3.1.
But what is the cable though? One end is HDMI and one end is.
No, for that portable monitor, it is USB 3.1 DisplayLink technology.
Oh, okay.
So it would be an OTG cable to a USB 3.0 cable. The
Gotcha.
USB Micro B. And that while I could get output to that monitor, it would only mirror the display.
When she walked in, the way the headset was on her head and the microphone was up, it looked like she had an antenna.
Yeah, a little bit. Looks like you have an antenna.
She runs on Wi-Fi.
But yeah, over HDMI, everything that I've been able to hook up over HDMI has worked that way so far. Or USB-C, any USB-C monitor that I hook up, that implements DeX.
Okay, cool. I have a little, I think it's about a 7-inch USB. I mean, you can use mini HDMI, but you can also use USB-C. So, Minnix, you look like you're seriously concentrating, like very hard. I'm going to try to distract you.
I'm sending my my key to
Morris.
Morris, yeah.
I might be completely redoing my server. It's got a lot of cruft on it. It hasn't been reformatted in a long time, and I want to switch from the SSD to an M.2. So I don't know if I'm going to be sending my key right now because it could change. I guess I could force it to use the same key.
I don't know if it'll attach in Element or Matrix. We'll try it. Is it-
Has anybody else been working on anything?
I'm just
No.
been studying dietpi.
It worked.
Haven't installed it yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how it compares to PiOS, especially since all I've got to do to swap over is to is to install it to an a USB 3 SSD and plug cold swap it from my Pi 4 to which is running now PiOS, but I just unplugged the one SSD and plug in the other one, and I'll be able to use dietpi and eventually XFCE, which is my preferred desktop anyway.
You just jump right in. DietPi is pretty self-explanatory, and
Mhm.
even if you just put it on a, you want to test it out, put it on a, if you have any micro SD cards, it doesn't take a lot. I mean, you get a simple like 16 or 32 micro SD card, just throw that on there and jump in, and it'll go through, run through the initial setup stuff and install whatever it is you want to install. And it's quick and easy. Dive right in. And what's the worst that can happen? You screw it up, and you just pop the SD card right out, and you can plug your SSD back, USB SSD right back in, and you're right there, back where you were before. That's part of the super fun thing about these the single board computers. Things go wrong. It's really easy to format a new SD card, swap it out, put a new one in, back up and running, no time. Easy to make backups too. Pull the SD card out, and make a copy of the SD card, make an image of it, put it back in. You're right back there.
Well, you don't even have to do it with SD cards anymore. I mean, the 4, if you're running a 4, then they already have the firmware to boot directly off of USB.
Yeah.
That's what I'm using is my Pi 4 configured for USB boot.
You used to have to jump through a whole crap ton of hoops to get USB boot working, and now it's just out of the box. There you go.
Reminds me, I gotta go back and either try and fix, which I don't think I'm gonna bother trying to fix my audiobook shelf. I think I'm just gonna
So what
Nuke
happened?
it
It got screwed up?
yeah, something's going on with it where it's not working right. So
Drop your user or something, won't let you log in.
I'll tell you here in a second. Actually,
That's what happened to mine.
And you set up a separate volume for your books, right?
yeah,
So why don't you
failed to ping server.
are you using the Docker image?
I'm using YUnohost, so I'm just gonna try and delete it off of YUnohost, then reinstall it with YUnohost, then put it back at the where I have the audiobooks. And I mean, I'm not worried about losing where I am. I've basically listened to everything that's on there right now, minus I was halfway through the third of the Altered Carbon books, and really that the third book's not as good as either the first or the second, really.
The third book, no, I like the third book better than I like the second book.
I could see that.
Yeah,
The first one
especially
being great.
since it's Takashi Kovac versus Takashi Kovac.
Right.
And the first one is awesome. It's the best of them, and then it's completely different in the second one, and then it's also completely different again in the third one. And, but I do like the third one better, and honestly, I think the third one gets better as it gets farther along in the book.
Okay.
So
Why don't you use the Docker image?
I could.
why not just install bare bones?
Well, no. I mean, it's made to use with the Docker image. They give you a compose file, and you just put that inside of a folder, label it audio bookshelf or whatever, and then do Docker compose up, and it pulls everything down. And then anytime you need to update, it's just Docker compose pull, and then Docker compose up again. So
Isn't that basically what YunoHost is doing?
no, it's not
No.
using Docker.
Well, YunoHost uses mostly Docker containers.
No, I don't think so.
No?
No, they have their
Have
own
to look.
packages. Like it's kind of. I think they're similar to dev packages.
I just have it installed bare bones.
So you could do that
Straight up
too. But
installed.
I mean that it's recommended to just use the Docker image, and it's so easy to update. I recommend you doing that.
All right. I'll take a look at doing that.
If you don't
yeah.
do that, then I don't care.
That's actually one of the reasons that it's actually one of the reasons that I haven't done the complete reinstall yet and the hardware upgrade is because I don't want to lose my config on, audio bookshelf and also what has and hasn't been watched on Plex or when things were downloaded on Plex.
Yeah, Audio Bookshelf is like constantly updated. They're really good about that. So
yeah, I've asked that guy for the developer for features on Discord, and he had an update out that day. I mean, that guy's awesome.
yeah.
Damn. On a side note, Reacher Season 2 is coming out.
Pretty soon.
Yeah.
December 15th?
I think so. And it's based on the 11th book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was great was the first one. The first season was based on the first book, but they did have characters in it that were from much later in the series.
Well, just the one.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Yeah, what's her name? And then now they're doing a book much later in the series. And I guess that's kind of cool considering the issues that they have with the book series itself being, 24 books long? And Reacher is now like 60 something. It's like how do you keep on with that character when he's that freaking old?
Right. I don't know. But from what I've seen from the ads, they're keeping pretty close to the book like they did in the first one. They kept pretty close to the book in the first show, first series. Yeah.
Well, same thing with Altered Carbon. Like the first season really went along with the book, other than like one major twist with his sister, and then the second one. Yeah. And then
there was other parts too, but yeah.
Yeah, but that was like the major variance there. But then the second season was just completely a mishmash of like the second book and the third book and some random crap that they just decided to change.
Right. Well, they kept him on Earth, didn't they?
No, he was not on Earth.
Where was he in the second one? Because I
just another planet. Another planet. Yeah. But they also brought the AI with him.
Yeah.
And that never happened. And then the person that trained him was Quellquest Falconer, who had absolutely nothing to do with the Envoy Corps in the books, but she was the creator of the Envoy Corps in the TV show, and yeah, it was just
because the Envoys
really
was the military, and then the Falconer started up.
Danny's bored.
The Falconer started up with there was like a rebellion.
Yeah. The Insurgency, I think it was called.
Yeah, something like that.
And for completely different reasons in the TV show than the book. Like in the TV show, it's like no one should live over X number of years, blah, 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 so automatic cutoff. You know, cut that shit out. Just because you're not interested in reading.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But it was the class system in the books that was causing the problem. And the thing about the second book is just, you know, hey, we found an alien ship.
Right,
And
it was such a random thing.
And in the third book, it just really didn't impact anything other than, you know, their ability to interface with machines.
Right.
Like, you figure something that technologically advanced would provide a bit more.
Right.
Speaking of interfacing with machines,
Sorry.
did you know that you could interface with the machine to go into somebody's dreams?
You're gonna jump straight into Dreamscape here? All right.
Well, I mean,
Let's do
we're
it.
on the same line of technology here.
Well, that's kind of the basis of the show, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know it's hard to pick up every once in a while. We
Uh,
kind of veer a little bit off course.
You only need technology to start with, to train yourself.
mhm.
Then you just need to be in close proximity,
That's right.
like either next door or below.
Right.
Mhm.
Then below, yeah. Yep.
Now, what's this?
Nice heavy.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say some nice heavy breathing meditation.
Now, an altered carbon, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Is that, is the technology similar to what they used in Dreamscape?
No.
No,
Like that kind of interface?
So, altered carbon is people who their bodies aren't really worth a damn. They have a disc inside of right in the back of their neck, which basically has all of their information on it. And when the body dies, you pull the disc out and they stick it into a new sleeve or a new body, and you can live on.
Or if you get sent to the stack, which is what happens when you break a law.
It's kind of like
then,
jail.
Yeah. They take you out of that disk and put you into storage, and then they take your body and basically give it to somebody coming off the stack that is, you know, finished their time.
Would
they're
this be
punished.
called like a transhumanism? Is that like...
More or less. I mean, they do talk about things like, well, you wouldn't have to worry about things like transgenderism because you just
No, I don't mean
do
transgenderism. I mean...
cross-sleeving and artificial bodies and, well, technically,
Your
you have
consciousness is
meths.
stored in that chip, in other words, right?
Yes.
Yes. Well, there's debate about that, too, with the religious folks. But yeah.
You think we'll
really
ever
need
get
to
to
read
that
those
point?
books. I
So-
expect we will eventually, not in our lifetime.
So I started watching something, and I thought it was Altered Carbon, where someone got killed, but then like their consciousness was automatically downloaded. Like it wasn't
Backed up.
about the disk.
That's Altered Carbon.
Yep.
There was some
It was-
backup where they were able to get it from the backup.
Yep.
Okay, quick synopsis on that. The guy did something. The guy is a meth. He'd lived for like 300 years, whatever.
Yeah.
And meth is short for Methuselah, not, you know, methamphetamine, just so you know. But he's so rich that if your stack is destroyed and you don't have a backup, you're gone. You're dead. Poof, gone. So he had himself backed up every 48 hours with a new backup. He did something so horrendous that he wanted to forget it. So he blew out his own stack. But when he was resurrected from his backup, he said, if I wanted to kill myself, I wouldn't be standing here. So something else must have happened. I must have been murdered. So he hires a guy that can figure it out for him.
Okay, yeah. That so I really didn't get very far into the series. I had the sense, I don't know, I have a hard time with some of those shows. They sort of, because they're coming from this sort of rich universe, and instead of just picking a course and making it entertaining, they feel like they have to do this incredible fan service and try to cram all of the details of a book into the first few episodes, and it just gets to be kind of like overwhelming for the layman. And that was one where I just felt like I had to know so much to even get anything out of it that I was just like, I'm done with this.
I kind of felt that they did it really well in Altered Carbon, but yeah, it probably was helpful to me that I had read and enjoyed the book first.
It just seemed like I have a hard time with a lot of those where everybody's like, you have to watch this, it's amazing, and there's a 4 or 5 episode ramp up before you really can start enjoying it, because I feel like I have to go back and take notes.
The whole like Netflix series strategy anymore is like the first episode is super exciting and it's meant to catch you and grab you and drag you into the show, and then like the next 4 or 5 episodes are kind of meh, but they build on the story and they're slow, and then all of a sudden right there at the end, here's all the excitement, everything wraps up, oh, it was awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't mean to derail the movie. So
Back to
the
Dreamscape.
Synopsis?
yeah,
Dreamscape.
that technology is very different, I guess, from Altered Carbon is kind of the point that was being made.
yeah, this was more about psychic ability, right?
Right.
Yeah. So before we start, does anybody here believe in psychic powers or telekinesis or palm reading or tarot or astrology or anything like that? You're all sane then, right?
Not in like it's. I don't think it's
Mortsy's
like
got his finger up.
Oh, okay.
Were you going to say something?
You can go first, Eric, if you want.
No, I was saying I do not believe in any of that stuff.
I was just going to say
So
it's. Go ahead, Mortsy.
I read a lot of different things growing up, as a teenager in, college age and stuff. Just saturated myself with religion and philosophy and some metaphysics, especially since I make the jewelry. So one of the first things I made was a bracelet with black beads and 2 skull beads, and a necklace the same way with 1 crystal. So I didn't put any power behind the crystal, but if I were to believe in good luck, these are good luck.
So that's about as far as your beliefs go.
Even if it's just the mind over matter thing, when you're looking for positive stuff, you see the self-fulfilling prophecies and stuff. But I also read lots of stuff about the Golden Dawn and Thelema and Israel Regardie and Aleister Crowley and stuff. And Aleister Crowley said, when he was talking about doing high rituals and stuff like that, that there's all these steps you have to do. And he said he said he didn't necessarily place belief in that, but that if you could do those steps and repeat the results, that scientifically that means that something's going on. What it is, I don't know, but so I don't know. Maybe a little bit. So many people prayed for me and wished me well, and I had anointed oil painted on me at a Eastern Orthodox church, and I'm alive, and I was told that I had like a 10 to 30% chance of being alive in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So far everything seems to be. I've gone through all the trouble stuff, and it seems to be okay so far.
What were you going to say, Eric?
Real quick, I just wanted to. When a while back, you had said that your numbers had started to go back up again, but they said that they didn't see anything.
So they didn't see anything new in my CT scan, and
Okay.
I got my blood pulled yesterday. My results came in this morning, and so 2.5 and below is where it's considered cancer-free, but they shouldn't ever be going up. There's things that can cause it, but they shouldn't be going up. So in a year, they dropped from 1.29 nanograms per milliliter to 0.92, and then in a year, and then in 1 month, they went back up to 1.29. So in 4 months, they've gone down to 1.08.
Oh, okay. So that was weighing heavy on your mind for a while. Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad to see that it dropped.
Because you were pretty happy-go-lucky, and then you got that blood test, and I saw your attitude change a little bit. So I'm glad you got some good news back from that.
That's awesome.
I also had some pain going on too, so that was concerning.
Yeah. Eric, what
Yeah.
were you going to say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think a lot of this is an offshoot, like psychic power. I think a lot of it is our struggle to understand the world around us, and that we understand science and the things that we know based off of what we've been able to prove or disprove or experience or whatever. And I think there is more. Like to think that we truly understand all that there is in the universe. I don't think that the more is necessarily intelligent, power or anything like that. I think that there is more that connects us from like a perspective, and I think because I have no better way to describe it, like as a psychic or an energy sort of level, like I've known my wife for a long time, and we've spent a lot of time together, but we are very different people and always have been. Yet she and I consistently, on a very regular basis, know exactly what the other is thinking, to the point where I will say it out loud and she'll say, damn it, I was just literally, that thought was just in my mind and you said it. And it happens to me all the time as well. Now, again, part of that is because maybe I've spent 30 years of my life with her. Part of that is we have a lot of shared experiences, maybe. Part of it is that we live in close proximity. Who the hell knows what's going on there? But the fact of the matter is, it's way too frequent for it to be coincidental. And we are different enough that things that I think of are not thoughts that I have. It's as if I'm pulling it out of her head and it comes out of my mouth. It's really freaky, and it happens all the time. So, again, what is that? No freaking idea. But, and I think a lot of what happens with these kind of beliefs is we're just happening around us. Now, I could look at that and I could say that there's some sort of psychic bond, and I don't know that. I have absolutely no idea what it is, but all I know is that in practice I have this connection with her as another entity, another person, whatever, that is beyond normal physical interaction. Like there's definitely something else there.
You can stare directly at somebody in a crowd, and you can see them get nervous.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there are definitely things. There is a level of consciousness, something, right?
I think there's a little more than what we consciously tap into.
Right.
A lot of some psychology stuff goes over a lot of our irrational reactions to things are based on stuff that saved us 10,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And our evolutionary reactions that don't make sense anymore.
Yeah. So that's all. I don't think that someone can stare at me and delve into the depths of my mind and or connect to my dreams and stuff like that. So I mean the premise put forth in the movie is kind of silly, and they don't even really go deep into it, which I think is pretty interesting for a movie that's about dreams. They don't actually spend much time talking about like how any of that happens. It's just like, oh, well, I'm just going to go into their dream now, and there's like a weird effect on the screen, and oh, now I'm in their dream. Okay.
Yeah, I would just, before we get into it, I'm just curious as to if y'all believe any of that stuff. But like, that's probably as far as I would go is say like, where they have the monks that can meditate and regulate their pulse and their body temperature. But I think that's a really close like mind-body connection rather than mind to somebody else's mind connection, or making things move with their mind. Or I don't really buy into any of that stuff, but I think there's things you can do to affect yourself. And like even when Mortency brought up the power of positive thinking or things like that, that can affect even on a subconscious level of how your body operates. I can buy into that, but that's about as far as I go.
Well, yeah, because if you're just negative stuff happens to you. That's
what
why
it
I
seems
wasn't.
like. Yeah.
But it seems like, yeah. I whether cancer was going to kill me or not, I wasn't going to be in that mindset of, woe is me, I'm going to die. I was
I don't
like,
know.
absolutely not. This is not going to kill me.
I don't know if you get this or not, but everyone's always telling me how brave I am. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Like, all I know is that what am I supposed to do? Like, yell? Like, oh, like, damn you,
curl
cancer.
up in my bed and cry.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, I could do that. I'm not
Why
going to.
does
I
the
don't see
world
any
hate
benefit.
me?
Yeah, exactly. Now, are there days when I wake up and I'm kind of pissed off that my life is not as easy as it used to be? Yeah, sure. But that's not, I'm not going to like go off the deep end.
No, I'm not going to try and compare this to cancer or anything, but I wake up every day in pain. And Eric, you know some of that because you had the hip surgery. I wake up every day in pain, but you know what? I get up and I still do my crap, and I try not to whinge on about it very much. Sometimes I'll cry about it to my wife because my hip hurts, and I'll tell her that. But I still lift weights. I still try and take care of myself. I still try and be as healthy as possible. It sucks that my body's falling apart, but what am I going to do? It's not like I can trade it in for a new model.
It's
No matter how happy, positive, lucky you are, we all have struggles. It's part of being human. I would love to have fewer.
Jim Butcher, who wrote something along the lines of, along a long enough timeline, the probability of your survival is 0.
That's true. Mm-hmm. Now let's live forever.
You were asking. I am a practicing pagan.
What do you believe in? Magic?
You call it magic. I just call it there.
You just call it what?
It's there.
There?
It's just there.
It's there. It's not magic. It's just energy.
So you believe there's some kind of, is it psychic energy or spirit energy or?
All of it.
Because I don't know anything about paganism.
She.
Yeah. The paganism for me is just all energy. It's just different uses of energy. There's spiritual, there's physical, there's metaphysics. It's all just transfers of energy.
Now, do you believe that doing certain rituals, like with putting a feather on a stick and then tracing a circle in the air, do you think that does anything, or do you think that it's just like a mind energy connection, that the ritual part of it is not really necessary?
You light a candle to say a prayer?
What about it?
We'll light candles to say a prayer. So
do I do that?
No, there's a lot of people who do. The ritual is just there to help you connect.
So, okay.
It's not. Do you need it? No. But does it help you get in the right mind frame? Yes. It's like the incense and the candle.
Right.
George Carlin asks this question. This is one of his old bits where he's like, do they practice rain dances? And if they do, and it doesn't rain, this whole like line of thought around stuff exactly like that, like rituals and,
because
how do you...
What happened to a friend of mine at her office? Somebody put a photo of her with like a eye over it and like some kind of sigils and stuff under her desk. It was like Santeria or something because they were real jealous of her and didn't like her. And then when they moved offices, she found that picture under her desk and was all freaked out about it. I was like, it's not going to do anything. You didn't know it was there. And, like, so I've seen people run into this in real life. And I'm just like, if you're not even aware of it, nothing bad has happened. I mean, why would you worry about it now that you found it,
I really look at a lot of rituals as it's more to get you in the frame of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right. She didn't know about it, so she didn't have that worry of it.
Yeah, and see, I think if she'd known about it, then she would have had like negative thoughts, like Mortency said, and she would have self-sabotaged herself almost with negativity, so.
Yep.
And I believe like that, like your mind affects your body and your mood and things like that kind of connection.
Well, just like spell work, when they call it for paganism, spell work is just prayers.
Yeah,
you should kind of equivalent to it's about the same. It's the whole idea. You don't need all the fancy trappings to be a Christian. You don't need all the fancy trappings to be a pagan.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a way to.
Yeah, any religion that purports that you need to go through them to reach some higher level, or like that, to me is a business, right? Like that's all that is. It's a source of concentrating power. It's a business. Like any good religion is all about you are connected directly, and it's the practice is about you making yourself better, not contributing to external, if that makes sense. But the only spiritual thing I've ever had twice in my life. Once was when my daughter was born, and just the feeling I had, like it was just so completely overwhelming. And I'm usually a pretty in control person, and I had no control of myself in that span of time right after her birth. Like I was just, I would imagine that's what euphoria, elation, like I literally, was a different person for that small amount of time. And the second one was when I found out I had leukemia, and I had panicked for about 8 seconds. And then I just had this calm just completely wash over me. And I'm not going to say it was like spiritual, that I was like necessarily touched by an external force. I think it was a lot my own biochemistry and brain and everything, but I just had this sense that this was not going to be the end, and that I knew it was going to be a hard road, but that I was going to make it. And kind of like what Mordency was saying, like where you just, it wasn't even like a minor matter thing. It was just like I was so certain of it. Like it wasn't like I was saying, oh well, yeah, I know I'm not, the odds are not in my favor, but I'm gonna beat this, chin up, haha, stiff upper lip. No, this was like literally something in my mind said, you're good.
Gotta have that positive attitude, I think.
Yeah.
Well, you were asking about tarot cards, and I think tarot cards are it's a tool.
Joe
and
has
it's about a
buggy
lot of
beard.
It's about using a lot of the tarot cards is great for shadow work.
That's I can see it's stuff crawling around in there. You got bees in your beard.
Eric,
all right,
you gotta mute Jitsi. Eric.
Yes.
You gotta mute Jitsi.
Oh, he has his mic. I was wondering why he sounded like he was coming over an intercom or something.
Yeah, Jitsi. You gotta mute Jitsi.
Sorry, I had no idea how it got unmuted.
I don't know.
Movie cast.
All right. Yeah, I'll give a quick synopsis. So there is this project. Well, it starts out with the president is having nightmares that he caused a nuclear war, and it's preventing him from doing his job and stuff. And there's this research project that is focused on connecting people. Joe, man, turn your camera off or something. That Brillo pad is really distracting me. Anyway, so I'll look over here. He so there's this government project that's going on that is working on connecting psychics with other people to get into their dreams and supposedly like solve whatever issues they're having with nightmares and night terrors and stuff. And back in the day, years before this, they had done experiments with actual people with psychic abilities, and they wanted to bring these psychics into the lab and have them use this machine they created that would connect people together, connect the psychic with a person so they could go into their dreams. It was like dream research, but you could actually get into somebody else's dream. So Dennis Quaid plays the protagonist in this. What is the Green Acres guy name? Mr. Douglas? I don't know his real name, but anyway, Mr. Douglas from Green Acres plays the president. And there's a hot woman on here, and I forgot her name. But so they get Dennis Quaid,
Oh,
who
and
was
then there's that guy that he was in the
bad guy?
Warriors. Yeah, the bad guy. He was in the Warriors. He was in John Wick. He was in 48 Hours.
Right.
I can't remember his name, but he's been in a lot. He's kind of awesome.
He's very recognizable. He plays a great bad guy too.
Yeah, I recognize him right away. Tommy Ray Glatzman or Glatman. Yeah.
Is that his name? Okay.
Yeah, and he's been in so many things where he was the bad guy, and he's so good at it. Yeah.
He's very good. Yeah. So
Eddie Albert is the guy's name you were trying to think of.
Okay, Eddie Albert. That's the guy. That's Mr. Douglas.
Yes, and Kate Capshaw is the woman.
Oh yeah, and she's beautiful. Man, I've seen her in a lot of 80s stuff, and she's great.
You know who she's married to?
Who?
Steven Spielberg.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Well, they're good for him because that's a great pick.
Yep.
So anyway, so they want to get back Alex, who is played by Dennis Quaid, to participate in this project while he's been off on his own doing gambling and messing with women and stuff, using his psychic abilities for shady things. I won't say bad things, but so they get them together in this research lab, and there's what was his name? The bad guy?
Bob Blair.
No, not Bob Blair. Oh. The who you were just talking about that plays a good bad guy.
Sorry. David Patrick Kelly was his name, or is his name in real life, and he played Tommy.
Yeah, David Patrick Kelly. He's also participating in an experiment, and he's a psychopath who killed his dad, and he's part of this experiment too. And so they go through different steps where they're strapped in these chairs, and they have the subject on one side and the psychic on the other, and they're able to connect their minds together and peer into the dreams of the subject and actually affect their dreams and things like that. And so there's a high up, I forget what they said he was the head of, but he's a government official who kind of organized this experiment. You find out later. And what his goal is he wants to create assassins out of these psychics that can kill political enemies or actually kill anybody. And during this time, the president is having these terrible nightmares, and he also wants to join in a nuclear disarmament agreement at this Geneva convention that they plan on going to. And this Bob Blair guy, the bad government guy, doesn't want that to happen. He said it'll leave the United States vulnerable. So, and he can't really change his mind. So his objective here is to convince the president to be a part of this project, and they will solve his nightmare problem. But actually, he wants him killed by David Patrick Kelly. He wants him to go into his dream and kill him, assassinate him. So that's kind of the premise of the movie. I won't really give away like the ending because it's. I mean, you could probably guess how it ends, but it's a really cool ending. The final dream sequence is awesome inside the president's head and stuff, and the effects are really cool for this time frame, the 80s. I like the stop motion animation. They have a character called the Snake Man in here who's actually originated in a little kid's dream, and he's depicted as a stop motion animation in this. And they have some neat these wild dogs that are in one of the dreams that have these glowing red eyes that are chasing them, and these nuclear animations and stuff from the president's dream, and the science itself is kind of iffy, like the tech, it reminds me a lot.
They don't talk about it much.
Yeah, they really don't say
Very
anything
little.
about it.
Yeah.
But they do. It does remind me a lot of Inception, when they would connect people together, with somebody who was sleeping, so it could get into their dream and their subconsciousness and stuff. And I can't not believe that Inception didn't take some kind of inspiration from Dreamscape, because there's too many similarities as far as like even the political intrigue and stuff is there. So I thought the acting was good. I thought Dennis Quaid played a pretty cool dude. And there was before I turn it over, what did you think? What is your moral take on what Dennis Quaid did to the woman scientist by getting into her dream while she was sleeping, and she had no idea that he was sitting there in the room?
It was somewhat debatable. I mean,
is that right?
Well, they even had a conversation though where she said they both agreed that it didn't really happen. So
yeah, but even then, it still could be considered a violation. But the whole thing is she still wanted it to happen, so it's a little iffy because I don't know if he went into the dream with the intention of doing anything with her, but then the feelings were there.
At the very
she
least,
still could have
it's a
said
very
no
serious
at some
invasion
point.
of privacy, right?
They did kidnap him.
He did not force himself on her. So
Right.
It wasn't like he was being dominant or violent or anything like that. It was very much a shared. It was more or less like it allowed them to remove the inhibitions of the waking world and, indulge themselves in a dream. And then she was happy about it until she woke up and realized that he was there with her and had entered her dream. If it had just been her dreaming about it, she would have had a totally different reaction.
See, that's my point, because
Right.
it's her dream. He is not meant to know what's. I mean, at the very least, it's a very serious invasion of privacy to go into somebody's dream, and and then you could argue at the worst, it's since she thinks she's alone with her own interpretation of him, that it's like sexual harassment or molestation or something like that. I don't know if I would go as far as rape, but he's not supposed to be there, in other words, inside her head. So but
that's kind of what I'm saying.
She seemed to forget about it pretty quickly,
That's what I'm saying. So the conversation they had, she was angry, but then they went out in the hall at the stairwell, and she said, well, this didn't actually happen for real. And so there was that immediate connection of like, well, yes, you did come into my dream, don't ever do that, I didn't ask for you to do that. And then him saying, well, but obviously you were thinking about me, and I don't know, back and forth. And then her admitting, and both of them sort of saying, well, it didn't happen in real life. So they definitely made a distinction between things happening in dreams being separate, and I guess you would say not under the same level of sort of.
Is this based on Stephen King's Nightmares and Dreamscapes?
No, but there is a movie like that is based on that.
Because we did Dreamscape from 1984, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, a lot of similarities here.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely one of those. It's there are a lot of pseudoscience. They don't ever really even talk about what's enabling them to do this. I mean, they go through these scenes where there's someone hooked up in the chair, and then the psychic that's going to enter their dream, and they're monitoring the person's vital signs, heart rate and blood pressure, but I mean, there's no like, okay, the neural link is up, and here's what's connecting their minds, and like they never even made any overtures towards like this is how any of this works. It was
Right.
just
And well, they did mention some pseudoscience about, dying in a dream means you die in real life.
Oh yeah,
blah,
that's
blah,
right.
blah.
Yeah.
they use that in the Matrix.
Yeah.
If I get hurt in the Matrix, then I get hurt in real life. I mean, I so a lot of things could be seen as maybe drawing from this. Then you could say this drew from probably lots of other things, and that's just kind of the nature of movies.
So this really isn't a tech movie. It's a movie with some tech in it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And you know who wrote the original short story? It was Roger Zelazny, the sci-fi author. Thought that was interesting. And also, this was only the second movie to receive a PG-13 rating. The first was Red Dawn.
I wonder why. I mean, there's
Wolverine!
a couple F-bombs. There's a couple F-bombs.
There's some violence and gore.
I think pulling the heart out of the cop on the train was pretty
violent.
hardcore.
Oh,
Gore.
that was so
That's
silly.
But that's more like Indiana Jones kind of stuff, I
Yeah.
probably do that in Temple of Doom.
You did
then for
watch.
him-
You watched two people die.
Mm-hmm.
For him to even say have a heart, I just like, come on, really?
That was a little cheese.
It was so cheesy.
So anyway, I give it a thumbs up. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it was a fun movie. I liked it. Good
It
cast,
wasn't even-
good
I
acting.
was
This-
doing some reading on it because I didn't watch the movie, and it does say that it does take a lot from Stephen King's Nightmare and Dreamscape short stories.
Interesting.
The writer did not reference it directly, but a lot of it is very similar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Sorry, I just like it's like the unofficial. Is what a lot of the reviews are saying. It's the unofficial Stephen King adaptation.
I
They
think what
have
the
it here as being attributed to Roger Zelazny, who wrote the short story and the outline for the movie in '81. But who knows?
I think with the people that starred in this, I mean, these are not like no-name actors. Max von Sydow and Dennis Quaid. I mean, Dennis Quaid probably by this point wasn't that famous.
Oh
but
my God, Dennis Quaid was so young in this.
I know. But Kate Capshaw, yeah, she was in a bunch of stuff. So, and I get the sense that the production value and the sort of the pace of the story, like this would have been a great like date night movie. Like, let's just go, watch this. And the theaters were still popular enough that they needed enough movies to have things playing.
Had a
And
little bit of a love
80
story and
Yeah, I
also
mean, it had a
some
little bit of
jump
everything.
scares to get the girl to grab you. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
And it was not poorly produced. Like you said, the animation was pretty decent. Stop motion animation for the time period. I think it was for its contemporaries in the early 80s. Like that was not terrible special effects or no, I mean, there's some stunt work, the motorcycle stunt work and the cars and stuff I thought the toll booth thing was pretty, or not, the phone booth thing was pretty cool. I mean, you knew it was going to happen and they let you sit there and wait for it long enough that it was kind of like, okay, come on, I know it's coming. Comes the blue Ford.
Yeah, I have
take
to
up-
put this movie right up there with The Last Starfighter, right at the top of
Yeah.
the very best.
Again with the last Star. You're
Oh,
the
you
only one
guys
that
don't
holds
like it?
this opinion.
Oh, I
Oh,
love
The
that
Last
movie.
Starfighter is awesome.
Oh, you love that movie too. Now I
Yeah,
see why you're
absolutely.
on this show. To be on Joe's side, okay.
Yeah. Come on, where he takes his head off and he's fixing his ear.
Mm-hmm.
That is so awesome. I have always loved that. Go to bed, whatever the kid's name was.
You
I
guys
forget.
need to start your own Last Starfighter podcast, and you can talk about how great that movie is for hours at a time. So, I liked the movie though. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
You have fun with it, Honky?
Yeah, I did.
How did you watch it?
On Amazon Prime. I watched it
that's
like
where
2
I
days
watched
after the last show. I just
Yeah.
needed something to watch and then found it.
It was entertaining.
Yeah, I liked it.
Mornsey, what do you think? Did you watch it?
I did. I saw it when it came out as well.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
right?
me too. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was an easy watch. There was at no point was I like, okay, I'm getting bored with this.
Right.
Good
So
pacing.
it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. How do you like that?
Did you ask netminer if you watched it?
Netminer, have you ever seen Dreamscape?
I don't believe I have. I haven't seen a lot of those. What is Inception? Some of the others.
This is from 1984. It's got a young Dennis Quaid in it.
Nope, haven't. I doubt if I've seen that kind of. Doesn't sound like my cup of tea.
You might like Kate Capshaw. She was very attractive in this movie.
Yeah.
Right. All right,
Two-
cool.
It was
fun little
PG-13 and there was no gratuitous nudity.
No.
Right.
And if it wasn't in that dream sequence, then there wasn't gonna be any. You could tell hard that they were trying to keep this family friendly,
Yeah,
Except
two-
for the
I thought about that too.
explosions
I
and
thought
the
for sure
heart ripping and
in that dream sequence they
Listen,
would have had
this is
some
the United
boobs, at least
States.
side boob,
violence is perfectly acceptable. Boobs are not.
look, this was the 80s. There was gratuitous nudity in everything in the 80s.
Well, anything that had an R rating, yes, and it was expected. If you didn't have it, you'd be
No,
disappointed.
PG-13, you were allowed to do, boobs. You were allowed to
Really?
do boobs for PG-13. One quick flash is all you were allowed. And that's
okay,
why
well-
so many movies had it.
Which, by
Listen-
the way, that Bob Blair in the movie, his wife at the end,
Yeah.
I wish I could have seen more of her because she was wearing this tiny negligee. She was pretty
For an older
show-stopping.
lady, she looked
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
good.
She sure as
So there
hell
were-
did.
There were two fun things in here. One, George Wendt, who played Norm on Cheers.
Oh,
Right.
I didn't
Yeah, I
even mention
forgot about
him.
George
Right,
Wendt.
yeah. He
As
was
the
great.
reporter.
It was such a random part too.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
For him to play a
Some
straight
guy
guy
writing
was
a
great.
book.
Well, when they showed him when they first showed him in the movie, I couldn't tell because he's away.
Oh, at the bar?
watching. Yeah, watching, and I'm like, is he one of the bad guys that's like keeping an eye on him? Is he one of the mobsters? Is he one of the because there's all these different groups.
Which,
But
by the
yeah,
way,
and then
how did he get all that inside info in the first place? They never
No
explained
idea.
that.
What was the
No.
point of him either?
said he was
just
an
a guy
author.
that kind of
He
set
was
him off?
writing a
I
book.
understand that, but it was like a 2-second thing. That he met him in a bar, and he
It's
just
how
said,
the-
"Hey, there's some bad, shady stuff going on over there," and that
Well,
was it.
they
Did
probably
he
could
die?
have found a.
Oh, yeah,
they
he
probably
got
could have
shot in
found
the
a different-
crowd.
That's right.
Mhm.
They probably could have found a different way to. So his purpose was to tell Dennis Quaid about the
Bob Blair
Bob
and his
Blair's
assassination. and all that.
intentions. Right.
Yeah.
So they think, oh, this is just they're helping the president, and not giving away the actual, what was happening, like the clandestine aspect of it. And so that
Right.
was, I think, the only value his character really added. But the other thing was that Buddy, the boy, is Corey Yothers, who is Tina Yothers' little brother. If you remember Tina Yothers from God, what was the Alex
Oh, yeah.
Keaton?
Who's the boss? Or
Family
Who's
Ties.
the-
Family
Family
Ties.
Ties. That's it.
Yes,
Yes.
she was the blonde.
Right. So that was her little brother, and you could totally see it in his face if you knew that was. As soon as I saw him, I'm like, I know this kid from somewhere, and I went and looked. Which, by the way, I actually don't love Amazon, but I do like the X-ray thing. If you guys ever use that or not.
I see it pop up whenever I pause the movie. It'll
Yeah.
tell you
There's a
lot of
who's
good
in the
stuff in
scene
there.
and stuff.
Yeah. Anytime, I do love that. The fact that anytime I see somebody, I'm like, "Who the hell is that?" I know who that is. I can just pause it,
Yep.
and then it has all the people who are on the screen right there.
It is
It
cool. Yeah.
reminds me of MTV pop-up videos.
Pop-up video.
VH1.
Or VH1 pop-up videos.
Yeah,
excuse
yeah, I
me.
remember that.
Where they had just all the details that would just come up on the side in like a little bubble or something, and just random facts.
I'd like to watch that again. I wonder if you can still watch that somewhere. It's pretty cool.
Probably on YouTube.
Probably.
Well, so you ready for the next movie?
Yes.
Let's do
Drum
it.
roll.
It's Tomorrowland from 2015.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
That sounds
Jackie likes
familiar.
that movie. Yeah, I've seen that movie.
I've never even heard of it.
It sounds familiar.
That's George
Tomorrowland.
Clooney, isn't it?
Disney.
Tomorrowland.
It's a good one. It's Disney.
The Disney movie.
Yes.
The synopsis is: bound by a shared destiny, a teen bursting with scientific curiosity and a former boy genius inventor embark on a mission to unearth the secrets of a place somewhere in time and space that exists in their collective memory. Starring George Clooney, Britt Robertson, and Hugh Laurie. Never even heard of it.
Good cast.
Hugh Laurie is House.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Also in Blackadder.
Well, you
Yes.
also guys know that Tim McGraw was in it too.
Yes.
Well, they don't say that here, so.
It's in the IMDb.
Okay.
I thought it
That-
was
that
well
looks
done.
cool. Yeah, I know I've looked at it, but I've just never seen it, I don't think.
I am going to also mention that we probably need to start adding more movies in again.
Yeah. I added one today.
I added a couple of weeks back, a couple of shows back. But I don't want to be the only one adding things, because then you all give me the side eye when it turns out to be a crappy movie that I know nothing about.
No, that's perfectly
No, we
Universal
only give you the side eye
Soldiers.
when it's a movie that you know, because it's supposed to be tech related, or even we'll even if someone accepts
you
tech
read the
adjacent, and it's something that's completely not even close.
But
Look,
you just loved
you
it as a
read the
kid, so you want us to
description.
watch it.
You read the description and you think it has something to do with tech, and then you watch the movie and it turns out it's all about demons.
Like Devour.
Hey, that had
You
tech
mean the
in
House
it.
of M?
That had more. Devourer had more tech in it than this movie did.
Well, that's true.
Sad but true.
Uh-huh. But I would
This
say
movie
this one
was
was much
actually a
better.
thumbs up. I freaking hated Devour. That was garbage.
I'm the only one that I think gave it a star.
No, I liked it.
Oh,
I
did
liked
you?
Devourer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm not alone in there. Oh, it's got 3.5 stars, so somebody else liked it too. Somebody gave it a half thumb.
I like Morton gave it a half.
Excuse me.
Yeah, more to see.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just feeling a little under the weather. I don't. Are we going to run much longer?
I think we can. I just want to talk about a couple other things, but it won't take long. Just a few links I found interesting on the Lemmy, but other than that, I don't think there's anything I have anyway. Maybe you guys have something.
And just holiday stuff coming up for me. I'm fixing to put him to work putting up the tree.
Did you know this, Joe?
Yes, I did.
Were you aware
It's
of
in the
this?
plan.
She's sprung on you right now.
But the first thing has to happen is a minimum of 8 hours sleep at the beginning of my vacation here. And that might take a little while.
Well, netminer, you might want to stick around because I wanted to bring up this story that you've talked about before about the Fed's kill switch mandate on new cars, and it's a story I put in the Lemmy. So I guess this is a real thing and it's coming. It said it was part of a $1 trillion infrastructure legislation from 2021, and it said It says, true or false, the claim that the feds would mandate that every new motor vehicle include technology that could disable the vehicles seemed ludicrous. I started Googling. To my relief, I saw several fact checkers that said that the kill switch mandate was not true. And the reason they said it was not true is because it was not explicitly called a kill switch, whereas the law explicitly states to ensure the prevention of alcohol-impaired driving fatalities, advanced drunk and impaired driving prevention technology must be standard equipment in all new passenger motor vehicles. It's technology that will passively monitor the performance of a driver of a motor vehicle and can prevent or limit motor vehicle operation if an impairment is detected. And this is all vehicles after made from 2026 on. So I guess it is. I don't know if you remember talking about that, netminer. The kill switch thing. But
Yes. And of course, the AI will know better than any driver how he should be driving under all conditions, including slippery roads and whatnot.
yeah, so I think Joe has brought this up before, that the danger here is that if it exists, it can be hacked. And I think that's my concern as well. Not so much that it's an invasion or whatever, but that somebody else could get a hold of, whatever hack they need to do to make sure this, or, like the back door inside the routers and stuff. You guys remember that story. This is kind of along those same lines. So I just remember netminer had brought it up before, and so I wanted to include it in the, since this is a recent story, in the show notes. So
it's so hard to know how to feel about those types of things, because it's absolutely true that the human being should be the one who has the primary responsibility. But at the end of the day, I drive many hours a week on the highway, long distances, and I see so many people who are impaired not because of drugs and alcohol, but because they're on their phone.
Oh, that is the worst.
They're not paying attention.
Yep.
And if you had a vehicle that just said, even if there wasn't a punitive approach where it was like, oh, you're going to get arrested, but if you had a vehicle that said, hey, asshole, you keep going over the line, or you keep getting too damn close to cars, or you're not paying attention to driving, whatever it is you're doing.
My car beeps at me.
Well, and I think it at a minimum, it should do that, right? I mean, it should honestly slow you down. It should do something to get your attention and be like, you may not realize it, but you're really close. And the thing is, on the highway, especially, like, we're going 75, 85 miles an hour. There's no room for error. There's no margin for error. Like, you hit me, we're going to die.
I don't know if you've ever driven in Dallas or not, but all of these drivers, their vehicles would just stop. Now, granted, that might be helpful, but these people are psychotic. I almost had a panic attack driving home today from Micro Center because of the. You can ask my wife. She was in the passenger seat. I'm surprised she didn't have her eyes closed because of how bad these drivers were today on the access road next to the highway.
Thank Atlanta and cut it back by about 25%.
See, it's like when I'm behind somebody and I see them driving erratically, I just know they're on their fucking phone, and it drives me nuts, man.
No,
it's so preventable.
I hate that.
The crazy things people do around here to get 2 vehicle lengths ahead, and they're not really getting anywhere any faster. I mean,
exactly.
I see them swerve out of traffic, no turn signal, go 2 cars ahead in an area they're not supposed to be driving in, and then force their way back into the proper lane. So literally they were 2 cars further along, and it's like, what is the point of that? The guy that was in front of you was doing proper safe distance between the car in front of him, so you're like, no, you're not going fast enough, let me get up on this guy's bumper.
I'm one of those
cars.
My my brother is a long haul trucker, and his opinion of those who drive the standard automobile is definitely not safe for work. He
Dude, I was
figured,
last night trying to. I was having a conniption fit about driving in the fog and how many people put their freaking high beams on.
and how many people if you listen to him, he believes that most people got their licenses out of a Cracker Jack box.
Well, let's be fair. That test is way easier than it should be.
It's not the test, it's getting an appointment to get into the DMV out here, man. You got to plan 3 to 6 months in advance.
So I got my license when I was 17 in Pennsylvania, and it was actually, I thought it was fairly, the written part was, I studied a lot because I was like an overachiever and I wanted to make sure I didn't fail it. And at that time, it wasn't even computerized. It was still in person, and you fill out a thing and they had to grade it or whatever. Now I moved to Florida in like the early 2000s, and I took a test and it was an adaptive test on the computer, and basically where the questions can get harder or easier depending on, so if you give it right answers, the questions actually get easier, which I think is kind of silly, but some genius somewhere thinks that's a good idea. Anyway, it was so cursory and stupid that I actually said to the DMV, I'm like, I'm glad it wasn't too hard because it's been a long time since I've had to take it, but like, it's a little scary that that's all you ask of people to have a driver's license, is like, we're talking the most inane, stupid aspects of driving.
Look, I moved to Texas. I did not need to take a test. I have not taken any type of driving test, vision test, anything like that since I moved here in 1999.
Do you have vehicle inspections?
Yes, but that's ending sometime next year. Now,
Great.
all I had to do was show them my Iowa driver's license, get my Iowa driver's license invalidated. I also had to show them my military extension because I had a military extension at the time. And then get my picture taken, and they gave me a new license. And it's good for like 9 years. I've had it renewed once. I don't know if they're ever going to give me a test on anything, but I'm obviously a better driver than 99.9% of the DFW area, because these people are psychotic. Yeah, I know what a turn signal is. It's
Listen,
insane.
Turn signals are an admission of weakness.
That's what it sounds like.
No, you say that, but it's true, because there will be proper distance between me and the vehicles that I'm trying to pull between. I will turn on my turn signal, and the guy that's behind me will slam on his gas to make sure that I cannot pull in front of him.
One more netminer before you head off. Honkey posted this, that mxlinux is coming to the Raspberry Pi, and there's already an alpha release that you can try out for the Raspberry Pi 4, Raspberry Pi 400, and Raspberry Pi 5 models. And it's in the show notes too. So try out mxlinux.
Oh, yes. Well, considering, considering that MX and dietpi and everything are based on Bookworm, that's less than surprising. But I'm glad that they're going to align everything so that all my systems can run. Well, I've got an old gaming machine, which for some reason I can't kill enough secure boot so that I have to run Ubuntu on that. But anyway, but all the machines that I really use are going to be able to run mxlinux. That sounds like a great improvement.
Yeah, that should be good. But I just wanted to get those out there because I know netminer's getting tired. Figured he'd be interested.
Is there anything else in here you find interesting?
Yeah, I thought this was pretty cool that there's they compared a few gaming-focused Linux OSs to Windows 11 and actually beat them in benchmarks. It's
Oh, nice.
just really quick. It
On
said,
the new AMD processors.
do they give the specs here? I don't know if they do or not. But the three are Pop OS, Arch Linux, and Nobara OS. Do you guys know Nobara OS?
Yeah.
It's
All
supposed to be game-oriented Linux.
Yeah, it's Fedora.
Is it?
And
Okay.
the person who maintains it is someone like a major contributor or developer or something.
So they say that.
Ryzen
Oh,
7
okay. Here it goes, Joe.
580X and
Yeah.
Radeon RX 67 XT
Mm-hmm.
They
All
tested
AMD
it.
test rig.
With Cyberpunk, Forspoken, Ratchet and Clank, Starfield, and the Talos Principle 2.
And you're saying they ran these through Proton?
Yes.
Yeah, Proton, it's almost like having an emulator technology that's faster than the original hardware. You know, we're sort of hitting that with some, at least with some things on Proton, where it's like somehow this code compiled for a completely different system has this emulation layer that is able to run it more efficiently than the original hardware could, which I think is kind of hilarious.
It says
And-
Nobara was the highest performing OS that they tested.
Let me ask you guys
Overall.
a question, and not to belabor this. Netminer, if you want to bounce, I don't mean to keep dragging you along, man. I mean, we can stop. I'll stop. I'll stop.
No,
bringing
that's
you on
fine.
things.
What's your
I
question?
just wanted to bring up those two just because he said
Well,
he was
I have
ready
something to add
crash.
on to that, but I don't want to keep. That's what I'm like. If Netminer wants to stop, or if he wants to jump.
I can hang in a little bit. I just wondered if this is going to be our 1 o'clock.
Oh, I don't think so.
No. The only thing I was going to say is I still hear this whole idea of Linux native for games, especially, and
Mhm.
if things, even if they're not intended for Linux, if you can use Proton and have this compatibility layer that's available on most systems, does it even matter that it's Linux native?
Well, no. And, I can see the argument that people made about, if the compatibility layer isn't there, then they're forced to actually program for it natively. But I agree with you, the whole Proton layer and having it work on Linux anyway is better in the long run because 90% of your developers or more are, developing for Windows. So if we want to be able to game on Linux, then this is the best way to do it.
I mean,
Even
it just
if
seems like
it disincentivizes, programming natively in Linux.
well, that's what I've heard is like someone, because I've said, well, if that's the case and a developer can create a Windows game and then all they had to do was verify it on Proton and maybe there was a couple small, tweaks they'd have to make. We're not talking about them writing an entirely separate client, right? We're talking about just maybe tweaking the Windows-based game that works better with Proton, or at least be collaborating with the Proton developers. And that's exactly the argument I heard was, well, then now you dissuade them from ever even attempting a Linux native port. And I keep thinking like, but why? Like, why bother with that? Why are you asking a developer to
Right. The
outlay?
market share is so small for Linux
Yeah.
as it is that it already disincentivizes them. So why take the
Yeah.
tool away from us?
It's kind of that zealotry side of things, I guess, where it's just like if it's not native, then it's not good, or I don't know.
What you're actually finding out is that Proton, to steal from OS2, is a better Windows than Windows. The reason you're getting higher performance under Proton is that Proton doesn't have to go through a lot of the legacy cruft that's built into Windows.
That
Right,
is true.
McAfee's not running in the background, messing everything up.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a fair point, netminer. The fact that yes, the executable runs in that environment, but then the system supporting that environment has so much overhead comparatively. And Joe's joking about McAfee, but really
I'm not.
I mean, because I don't know how many times I've had to add exceptions to like Defender and other stuff because it kept screwing with, and it wasn't just games, it would be random software. Like, why do you think this is a virus? And why are you running in the background? It's there's just such an inefficient approach to that stuff. So that makes sense. The Proton would be maybe would benefit because of that. Oh, I saw that, Elon.
One more since we're on the topic of games. I'll just put them real quick in the show notes. There's a couple of open source games that I thought looked pretty cool. One is called Nave, I think is how you say it. Naeve. It is a. Let me put it in the show notes real quick. There you go. It's a game about space exploration, trade, and combat. Players travel the galaxy and earn money by trading, fighting, and performing missions. And the other one is called 0K, and it's also open source. And it says drive giant robots, build an army of 1,000 fleas, move mountains if needed, bury the enemy at all costs. It's a real-time strategy game. And those are both in the show notes now. So since we talked about games, I'll throw those in there.
No Linux Gamecast music.
Oh yeah, the Linux Gamecast music. Let's see.
Have you tried any of these games, or just you saw them and they thought they looked cool?
I just
The
thought they
Linux
looked cool,
Gamecast.
but I haven't tried it, so I can't really speak to that. That's enough of that. But no, I haven't tried any, but I did watch some videos of not Nave, but the I was just talking about it, 0K. It looks cool. It's a free and open source RTS game, kind of like what's the one that everybody's crazy about and all the Koreans play? It's where they have the championships and all that stuff. And
StarCraft.
StarCraft, yeah, kind of reminds me of StarCraft. So you can watch the video. They have videos for both games on there. And they're free as in beer and free as in freedom. So there you go.
Cool.
But
I wanted to point one out real quick that I put in there. So there is a data destroying defect found in OpenZFS. Basically, when the new release came out, they found out that there was a data destroying bug has been discovered following the release of OpenZFS 2.2.0, found in FreeBSD and 14 and other OSs. So there is a bug in there that is destroying some data. Somewhere in here that explains what the bug is, but the biggest thing is if you are running ZFS, update, because they've discovered the problem and they should be trying to fix it. But it's in. They discovered it in 2.2.0, and they think it's in older versions of ZFS, OpenZFS as well. So please update or OpenZFS.
I was just looking if proxmox uses OpenZFS, but I don't think they do. I think they just use regular ZFS. Let's see.
The bug manifests as corruption of the contents of files when they're copied instead of their expected contents. There are stretches of zeros mixed with blocks of what looks like base64 encoded data. It showed up when using Gentoo's portage command, the distro's package management tool, an operation that typically involves copying lots of data. Worse still is the file system's own health checks don't detect any problems. But now release 2.2.1 simply disables the feature.
No, proxmox does use OpenZFS,
Oh.
and that is what I'm using on my backup proxmox backup server. Is OpenZFS. So I need to make sure I'm using the right version. Thank you for the heads up, sir.
Yeah, you might want to read this article fully.
If they've got any announcements. I'll have to look that up later. Anyway. Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, let's see what else is in Lemmy. We found interesting.
Joe might find this interesting. OpenWRT has a smartphone USB tethering.
No,
Actually, yes.
I was going to say,
Did you know that, Joe?
No, I did not.
I'll put the link in the show notes.
Especially if it bypasses detection.
Okay, it's in there now. It's from their wiki page, actually. It shows you how to use it.
So will it do tethering? I mean, tethering. What the hell am I thinking of? Make a Wi-Fi hotspot by just connecting it through USB.
Yeah, to your router. And so it uses the phone as the data receiver and then the router as the data transmitter.
Do you need to have you need to have something installed on the phone though?
Let's see. I don't know. I didn't read it, to be honest.
It says it uses the native USB tethering.
Oh, does it? Okay. So I guess you would just turn like developer mode on and...
Yeah, turn on the phone developer options and then turn on the USB tethering.
Okay. You know, some phone companies try to charge extra for creating a Wi-Fi hotspot with your phone.
Or
Yeah.
they automatically slow you down to almost nothing.
Right. Now, have you tried USB tethering?
Yeah, T-Mobile slows me down though.
Oh, okay.
All right.
There's a pretty big one in here we can have a nice conversation about, but maybe I'll save it for next time.
Well,
It's a parents sue gaming
Jackie-
companies over video game addiction.
Yeah, Jackie
you
wanted me
got
to mention that I use
Go ahead.
that I do use some methods for tethering when we're on the road, and I have used routers for that before, portable routers for that before.
Right.
But I think I was using something other than the native tethering app. I was using because you can install Easy Tether alongside openwrt, and that's how I was using it in the past.
That's all I was going to talk about.
So what were you using for a portable router?
Oh, it was a popular one. Can't even remember. Something 4010? Hold on, let me see if I can look it up real quick.
Was
If
it
if I can get that to work, that'd be good for long car trips.
I'm using a
'Cause
a little like a Mi Nano or something, like MII, they make smartphones and routers and stuff like that. Xiaomi, what they call it, like Mi something, Mi Mini or Mi Nano or something.
Yeah, I have this other one over here that
I've got one of those with openwrt on it that I use for all my IoT devices. And it's not connected to the internet. It's just connected to Home Assistant. Ooh.
They have a Mi Coffee Nano Pro. That's a coffee scale. It looked like a small box. So I'm like, is that what it is?
It's made by
there are so many
Xiaomi.
portable routers right now that will run openwrt a lot more than there were when I first set this up. So I can look this one up, but I know you can't get it anymore. But it was a good one for the time, and it was a 3G compatible, so you could put a SIM card in it.
Don't have any desire to do that. I mean, if I can do it through tethering on my phone, I mean, we have unlimited data now. So if I can just turn my phone into the hotspot for the car, it'll help with the kids, because I have Jellyfin is a public-facing server, so they should be able to use Jellyfin from anywhere.
I'll put it in the show notes, Honky, the router I use.
That's what we were using it for, so that the kids could connect to the internet and get back to the router at home, so that we could watch movies and stuff. And there's long stretches where we just plain didn't have, even cell service. So I also set the router up with a USB stick that had movies on it, and I was able to share that with everyone.
It's called a Xiaomi Mi Wi-Fi Mini. It's like small.
No,
it runs OpenWRT really well.
The one I was using was the TP-Link N150 wireless 3G/4G, but I had to custom install openWRT on it.
I had one of these. Good.
And like I was saying, there are just so many routers that out of the box coming out of China right now that are automatically running OpenWRT stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
So, yeah, I mean, you can get one from TP-Link or something like that, but the little ones, as long as they have enough memory on them, that you can install your own applications on them, they're fine.
There's this, the company that I had was gl.inet. I had been recommended their products from a couple different IT guys that I knew, and they have, I noticed one of their latest ones is it's $90. And they actually do mention the ability to use tethering just built in. So, but I initially got it because of hotel
Hotel.
Wi-Fi, and this was a way. Forget what the trick was, but you could.
Well,
You-
I can
you
tell you the
connected-
trick.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you have a router, and you hook it up to the Ethernet at that location, but you have to go through a username, password, whatever. You have to click accept, whatever. So you forward, you SSH into the router, but you do it to forward port 80 to your machine, and then that makes it so that your internet looks like it's coming directly from the router. And then you can go through that little bit of interaction where you accept their EULA, and then now you can share the internet from the router to everything else.
That's what it was. Yeah, where they made you do. Yeah, exactly. It was tied to a MAC address or something, and yeah, you register that MAC of the router, and then all of a sudden you've got a hotspot for everything. Yeah, that's what it was. Anyway, so yeah, routers have become. I mean, yes, the openwrt, Tomato. I used Tomato a long time ago. I'm a WRT5. What do you got there, Wardency?
It's the GLI net, but it's got a different chipset in it, and I got it from Think Penguin.
Okay.
That when I did a quick Google on Amazon search for mini Wi-Fi router, that's exactly what it came up. I'm staring at is GLI net.
The AR300 M16, which has OpenWRT pre-installed.
What is it?
The Think Penguin one has a Libra CMC, but I also have the GLI net one somewhere also.
Y'all remember DD-WRT? I used to run that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did all of those like I would do a ROM for an Android phone. I went through all of them. I really enjoyed playing around with them, the capabilities of each one, and I actually made the determination a long time ago how good the open tools were compared to anything you could get on an OEM.
What I really liked about them was all the packages they had available. Like you could run an ad block, application
NAS.
right there on your torrent server.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All that right on your router. It's really
on
cool.
a very exactly, on a very low power device.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I put DD-WRT on this old router over here, and one of the reasons was because I wanted to install like a snort or something like that and play around with. I haven't yet because I think when I put DD-WRT on it, I'm not sure how much space I have left on it. Looking at it, I think made me a little bit nervous to add anything else to it at the moment, but I may.
Just brick it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is I think I told you before is this one I had put DDW. The whole purpose why I bought it a long time ago was to put DD-WRT on it. I got it on there. I did something and I wound up bricking it, and I couldn't unbrick it, or I wasn't able to unbrick it, and so I had shelved it. It was sitting in a drawer for a long time, and then about like 4 or 5 months ago, I went through and figured out that most of my hardware had gotten so old. I mean, my because I have my own cable modem, and so my cable modem was so out of date that it couldn't. I'm paying for all of this bandwidth that it couldn't do. So I bought a new cable modem, and then I realized that some of the old router that I had was only 10 megabits, and I need to get a gig. So there's going to be bottlenecks right there. So I figured out that one was a gig, so I spent some time playing with it, and I was able to unbrick it and put DD-WRT back on it, and so
Nice.
yeah, I was really super happy that I was able to unbrick it.
Yeah, I bet.
I was somehow able to get the stock firmware back onto it, and then put DD-WRT back onto it again, and yeah, got it up and running. But I'm kind of afraid to try to screw around too much with it after bricking it and unbricking it. And I think while I was trying to get it reset up, I screwed it up again, and then I got it back. I don't know.
I remember the old Linksys routers were real, like, friendly towards installing alternative firmware on them.
Yeah, that was
Most
what
of
I.
them were just really easy to do that, you know. So for a while there, I just bought Linksys routers.
WRT54G.
That's it.
Yeah,
Took-
that's the
yeah.
famous one.
That's so hackable, and you can put anything on it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of them laying around, and I was cleaning out my closet, my tech closet. I had so much stuff in there, and I'm just like, I can't keep it all. So I started getting rid of duplicates of stuff that I had, and I had about 4 of those routers, and I sold 2 of them. And the guy that bought them was so appreciative. He's like, "These are getting really hard to find."
Yeah, they're great devices.
Yeah. He's like, "You could just do anything with them," and you know.
Yeah, we went through a lot of WRT54Gs. They were a great device to work with for a really long time. And then, just you had so much other things come out that had so much more capacity, throughput. So
Range was a big one for me. They just didn't have great range, at least in my house with the thick walls and stuff.
you could overpower them. You could.
No, I did,
They
and even
burn out
still,
quicker.
yeah, right. Toaster.
The Netgear a few years ago, I mean, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago, started putting openwrt on all their devices, and the Linksys one was because it was the same hardware they were selling, like for Cisco devices. The Linksys, they just paid somebody in China to put a cheap interface on it without all the power, without accessing all the features, so they didn't have to make two product lines. And the FSF started contacting them about how they had to open it up because it was running BusyBox.
Oh.
They needed to make it available, and whoever contacted them back, the lawyers, pretty much told them, no, go away.
What are you going to
We'll
do?
squash you or
China.
something.
We're in China.
No, it was Linksys, an American company.
Oh, okay.
But they thought they had paid somebody to write code from scratch, and they had just thrown BusyBox on it with a couple commands
I
with
got
a
you.
with the web UI. And yeah, I talked to, I forget his name, who's over FSF, the lawyer. Anyway, that's where it all started. So they were friendly because that was the first big lawsuit on routers not complying with the GNU license.
Yeah.
I think I'm fading.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think unless we want to do a 5150 show where you have another 3 hours of snoring.
You just record us snoring, like the infamous. What was that? A book review or something he did?
No, the snoring was its own episode, but he did do a book review from the bottom of a well. Actually, half of it was in the bottom of a well. The other half was in his noisy truck. He figured he had he was down there in the having to redig a well. He might as well do something with his else with his time as well. So he was multitasking. He was digging a well and doing a book review.
Doing a book review. Might
And
as
he finished
well.
it up on a truck ride. A very very noisy truck.
We should start a book review series.
Do a branch off podcast.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
And we know Danny wouldn't be a part of it because he doesn't read.
Well, y'all don't read the same books. I don't read fiction, so.
You just read self-help books.
Yeah, I just read books from some guru in India that tells me to drink my own urine.
Well, you say you don't listen to fiction.
Yeah,
Have you listened to Kevin Mitnick? Have you read Kevin Mitnick's books?
What books does he have? Is that the Altered Carbon books?
No. Kevin Mitnick, he writes security books. Wrote. He died last year, so.
All right.
No. What I thought you think I'd find them interesting?
Yeah.
I think, yes, you would find him very interesting. I mean, his first book probably might not be your cup of tea because it's very much him telling a story. But his later books are, he does use stories, but he explains like anonymity, security, and basically all the tactics that people use to gain access and how like large companies protect themselves.
Oh, he was the guy that was banned from using computers, and he was sent to prison.
Without a trial
Yeah.
and without
26
bail for like
2600 magazine always had the free Kevin.
yeah, he was in jail for years without a trial and without bail and without anything.
He has a really good interview on Coast to Coast when Art Bell was still alive.
Yep, I remember listening to that.
You remember
the other
that?
night.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
He had some good interviews on Hack 5
Oh yeah.
back when they were first in the studio.
Good old Art Bell.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I listen to that all the time.
True story. I listen to Coast to Coast every single day, every night.
Oh yeah.
Classic. There are 3 or 4 stations that are on just open radio broadcasts over the internet. I'm trying to think of Shoutcast. There's like 3 or 4, and I listen to Coast to Coast every single day when I'm going to bed. And it's all those crazy like 90s UFO stuff. I listened back in the 90s too on AM radio when it would drift in and out. You know, you'd be listening to something, really enjoying it, and it would drift out. You're like, damn it. Yeah,
See,
but
I
no,
like Art Bell. I'm not crazy
I don't
about
like-
like
not
George
George Norrie.
Norrie and all those guys.
no.
But the classic
Bell
Art Bell
only.
stuff was awesome.
Only Art Bell, yeah, because
Mhm.
he was such a nut.
Yeah,
But didn't
there
he end up
was-
moving to the Philippines and marrying like
Mhm.
somebody that could be his granddaughter?
His wife died. His wife died very sort of tragically on him
Hmm.
in the mid like 96, something like that, 96,
Yeah.
97. And like, yeah, his life was falling apart, and then he just like moved and found someone else. Yeah. Now they own they owned the local radio station in Nevada. Yeah, I regret not having tried to. I'd called once in the in the late 90s. I called one time and got on, and
Did you
sounded
really?
like I could sound like a complete moron because I was so nervous. I didn't know what to say. I was just like fumbling all over myself. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I'm such an Art Bell fan. So much. Actually, it's that announcer that's between the segments. I
Mhm.
love that guy's voice so much, and if I could be an announcer, I would want to be that guy. You're listening to Somewhere in Time. His voice is so deep.
There we go. Transporting back in time.
Do you know who that is?
Yeah, that's
Mortar.
yeah. He did the George
Donna
Moroder
Summer
did
stuff.
all the like the soundtracks to all the old Italian films and stuff back in the day. Yeah, it's classic.
Donna
This is
Summer.
the-
He did. Listen to Donna Summer stuff if you want to hear good synthesizers and electronica by Georgia Moroder. Like, she's the annoying part of the song. If you just listen to the electronica.
Yeah, his collabs with Donna Summer is awesome. His music. Yeah, that theme song is from that Turkish prison movie. Was it called Midnight Run or something? You guys remember that?
okay.
Yeah, that's where that came from. The Chase, I think it's called. But yeah.
Gotcha. Yep. Love it.
Play us out.
I'll be listening to it in half
Play
an
us
hour.
out, Honky.
Oh, you have to turn it down a little bit though.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
actually, it'll probably get us a strike on YouTube when they hear that. That
See, now
sucks.
you're gonna shut down again.
Are they going to demonetize us? I
Yeah,
mean,
they're gonna take
Oh,
away
they're
all
gonna
our money.
kick off
Right.
they're gonna kick off the episode again.
Yeah. We're gonna have to make our own PeerTube episode.
Our next recording date will be December 15th, 2023. Our music is Downright, provided by Klaatu and Broam. I'd like to thank Minnix for the use of his mumble server. Finally, I'd like to give a special thanks to Delwin, Fatherfinch, Fweeb, Dave Morris, Tony Beemus for all their help and support over the years. I have been your host for this evening, Honky Magoo. With us tonight has been Eric.
Hasta la vista.
Joe.
Good night.
Jackie still on? No? Did you want to say goodnight?
Sorry, I was reading something. Y'all have a good night.
Good night. Minnix.
Night, everybody.
Morton C. Did Morton C say something and I didn't hear it?
No.
Good night, all.
There
Oh,
he
there we
is.
go. And netminer.
Good night, and Morton, see, bon voyage.
Yeah, safe travels.
Yeah,
You said
and,
3 days?
Yeah,
and
just
we're-
over 3 days.
and we're looking for some more classy pictures of L and company, and reports from all the exotic locales that you find that are G-rated.
I can only post the G-rated ones.
No, you can post them all. If you're a
We can see-
Patreon subscriber, you
I
can
su-
see the juicy stuff.
I just suspect somebody with his fiance may have some more private moments, not for general broadcast.
We're going to have lots of fun.
No doubt.
Morton,
All right.
see, if you can't have fun with that beautiful lady, you're sick, and cancer is the least of your problems.
Yes, yeah.
All right, everybody, don't forget that
Good night,
on
all.
Good night, Netminer.
December 31st at 5 a.m. Eastern Time, I don't remember what the UTC time is, we're doing the Hacker Public Radio 24-hour, well, it's about 27-hour show, basically between 5 a.m. December 31st and around 7 a.m. on January 1st. There's going to be a open mumble server for people that's going to be recorded throughout that entire time. People can come on, join, talk. Even if you just come on and there's nobody else on there and you just want to say Happy New Year to people, it's all going to be recorded that entire time. So it'll all go on to the podcast to get it published to Hacker Public Radio. And yeah, join us. It's always fun. It's always fun to hang out and talk. I probably won't be able to spend as much time on there as I wanted to because I have to work on New Year's Day. I actually have inventory on New
That
Year's
shouldn't
Day.
stop it. That should not stop you at all.
Well, I definitely won't be able to drink as much. I probably won't be able to stay up as much unless I'm just going to go with no sleep whatsoever. But yeah,
I bet there will be plenty of booze available for you to drink.
it's available, but it's not a good idea.
Excuse me.
But
It's always a good idea.
yeah, it'll be on Delwin server. For those who have the Delwin server stuff. Check out Hacker Public Radio for all the details. We'll have all the details on the website soon, probably.
Chatter.skyhaven.net.
Sky spelled S-K-Y-E.
Linux is amazing.
Correct. Is it 64738 still?
Linux is amazing.
Yep.
That's the port. All right. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. And we will see you next time.
Have a good night.